Hey y'all, my name is Paul and let's have a conversation. Sorry I haven't been filming as much lately. Responsibilities. I'm sure most, if not all of you, can understand. Hobbies have to take a sideline when there's adulting to be done. Um, Sorry I'm recording this on my phone, but this way I can have the video upload while I'm walking around at work and kicking ass, if I may say so. And I don't have to use my phone as a hotspot and wait for hours for it to upload from my tablet like it did last time. That was just unbearable. So please bear with me. I'm not going to make a habit out of this. Sorry about the suspenders, too. These chef pants don't have belt loops, so suspenders it is. Anyway, few things I wanted to talk about today. I've actually spent a week trying to formulate in my head what I wanted to talk about because ideas for me are just flashes of images, and it's kind of hard for me to slow down and quiet things down and put the images into words. But, all right, we'll start with a Secure Team video that I saw regarding the Sphinx. Ooh, okay. Now, on the video, I'm really glad that they referenced Edgar Cayce as often as they did, because I've heard of Edgar Cayce growing up pretty much my entire life. My mom read every one of his books. For those of you that don't know, he has a higher track record of prophecies that came true than Nostradamus. And in one of them was an alien technology will be found at the feet of the Sphinx. Now, I don't know if that was a prophecy, like he saw the uncovering of the technology, or if he remote viewed it, because this was before I think remote viewing was a thing. I think this was like in the 50s, and the remote viewing program by the CIA wasn't until, what, the 60s? So, who knows? But I'm going to start reading more of Edgar Cayce now, because the Egyptian government, it would seem, is trying to cover the fact that they've discovered things. They put up a wooden boardwalk so you can't see the excavation taking place. Brings more questions than answers. And I'm really curious what they're going to do with whatever they pull out of there, if they haven't already. My mom said that they actually found it months ago. I think it was months. Anyway, so for all of you avid readers, Edgar Cayce, Cayce, I think. Anyway, I would definitely do that. I'm not that much of a reader anymore. I kind of have a hard time reading, and it's hard for me to admit that. I used to read a lot, but things get jumbled and mixed up, and I lose focus, and it takes me 3 months to read what should to only take me a month to read. I mean, it took me forever to read the Harry Potter series. But anyway, I'm going to give it a try, because if Edgar Cayce is right that often, I want to know what else he has to say. Another thing, I was talking to, I don't want to say an acquaintance, but we're not quite friends yet, I think. An older guy I know, brilliant mind, engineer, pilot, and without sounding crazy, because I don't know why I care what people think so much, but I do. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But I asked him, while you were up in the air, did you ever share the skies with something that you can't explain? And he replied with, yeah, I have. And I was like, ooh. I tried to contain my excitement. My eyes got big, I know that much, but I tried to poker face it as much as possible. And I was like, okay, another question. Do other pilots have like an unspoken rule that you don't talk about it for fear of losing your license? And he was like, oh, hell no, we want to know what the hell that was. And I was like, ooh, 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 trying to contain my excitement even more. And as I was just about to ask the next question, brilliant guy, like I said, he knew what I was going for, and he said, but it had to have been man-made. And that took me aback a minute. I was like, why did you say it had to be man-made? The way you described it, it was there, and then it went off vertical so quick. And he said it was because before that, years, months, I don't know, he was very indiscriminate as to the time, but I was given the impression it was years. Before that, he was asked to come into this room and help design something. I think it was the tail of a project, and he had to sign a non-disclose agreement. So a lot of this topic is vague, and I know better than to push it because my aunt was in military intelligence, and she still can't tell me how many jumps she's made and stuff like that. So I know what to ask, how to skirt a question, and read between the lines. But anyway, he said that actually he and his coworkers, fellow engineers that were brought in to work on this project, they asked how come they didn't put this on the Apache, and the answer they got was because it would put Russia only a couple years behind them, technologically speaking. So it's a whole new project that this is, and the Apache is an amazing technological feat in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it can work as a cat's eye reconnaissance and a grunt in the air. That's pretty awesome. And he was saying that some of the things that they were working on made him completely believe that the technology that us, the general public, are aware of is quite a bit behind where they're at. I mean, you never want to show your ace up your sleeve, right? So you have to know as a government that you're going to want to put out the lower technology ahead of everyone else so that you remain dominant, but you never want to play your hand. You always want to keep something in case it hits the fan. Or that way you can get it mass produced so that by the time anybody else gets an inkling as to what technology you're working on, you already have a fleet and it doesn't matter and you're already onto the next thing. Personally, I could understand if they would just hold on to it, hangars of whatever these things are, and just keep them there until their competitors are sniffing that tree, so to speak, in which case you open up the hangar doors and say, haha, we beat you to this too. Moon landing reference. That to me makes more sense because I don't think it's ever going to hit the fan. Not enough that we would play those cards that far ahead of. I don't think there's a schedule. I mean, I think they're working their schedule based off of other nations' technological discoveries. And of course, I believe that Russia is ahead of where we think they are. That's a safe assumption, and I think that should be the only assumption made, because they have brilliant minds there too. But that made me think maybe what I saw was man-made. Because it too behaved like nothing else I'd ever seen. It didn't have blinking lights, and that made me wonder, do test aircraft, things that don't exist, do they have to conform to the FAA regulations regarding transponders and flashing lights? One would think not, because it doesn't exist. And how would they go about enforcing that anyway? Don't know. So maybe what I saw was actually man-made. Now, that kind of brings more questions than answers. Now, we do have brilliant minds on Earth, and I do think we are capable of a great many things. I mean, look at what Tesla did. He was months, maybe a year, a couple years away from providing the entire world with free electricity before he died. I think he was murdered, but interesting. And even if it is man-made, I still think it's pretty fantastic, because I know I saw something not a whole lot of people get to see. And if it's man-made, it does take away some of the glimmer, I think. It makes it a little less special. But somewhere in the recesses of the chaos that is my mind I also believe it could be due to reverse engineering of an alien craft or the shared technologies. Shared, what are we going to do? Show them how to make fire? But you understand what I'm saying. I don't know. This doesn't derail my plan of trying to go out on a Sunday night, couple minutes, I say a couple minutes, like 10, 15 minutes out of the city. The desert skies are perfect for sky watching because you can see the Milky Way. Everything just comes out a little bit sharper, and I want to see what I see. I'm not holding my breath. I don't think I'll get a recreation of what I saw before. That was 20 years ago. So if it was man-made, they've already tested it. It's done the alpha test, the beta test. It's a finished product by now, I'm sure. But they might be testing something else out there. Because if I did see a test, it's got to be near a base. And if it base is testing things, who's to say they're not testing something else? And if it isn't a test, chances are they're probably not going to visit the same area. But you never know. So I'm still going to do that. And if I end up wasting a couple hours a week, every week for, I don't know, till I move, die, whatever, then so be it. But what else would I be doing? Watching YouTube videos, maybe playing video games. In the end, it's not a waste of time if it makes you happy, right? And for a while I was teasing the idea of actually becoming an investigator. I don't know if I'd work with MUFON or just be individual about this, but I would like to hear reports and follow up on it, take notes, talk to witnesses. Then again, that means I'd have to talk to people, and I typically don't do well when talking to people. But there is a ranch, and the guy that's selling it for $5 million says that he had to kill 11 extraterrestrials using a katana. I don't believe that. Because, I mean, first off, if what he said was true, I'm pretty sure the government would have swooped in, taken his property, locked him up or made him sign a gag order, and possibly had some sort of retribution for possibly committing an act of war against a technologically advanced species that we would just either have to submit or go extinct as a result. Makes me wonder what he did kill, though. But anyway, it's good to know that there's odd happenings locally, so at least I don't have to drive very far. Anyway, I know I said I'd cut this short. Well, I don't know if I said that, but I'm sure I thought it. I do have to get ready for work. It's going to be a busy day. Lots of parties, big parties. Anyway, it was good talking to you guys again. I'm going to try to do videos a little more frequently, but adulting has to come first. So, anyway, keep the dream alive. Read Edgar Cayce if you feel so inclined. I'm still planning on doing that, and I do plan on researching more in the remote viewing, because that just... I'm not a religious person, and I'm semi-spiritual, but I do believe in the psychic phenomenon, for lack of a better term. I had an experience with that too in my youth. Maybe I'll tell you guys about it later on. But anyway, I do have to get going. My name's Paul, and as always, keep your eyes on the skies, but your feet on the ground.